All right, so are you ready to journey back in time to like 14th century France? Because today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the Plague Tale collection.
Ooh, that's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, so this collection bundles two games together,
Yeah.
um, A Plague Tale,
Hmm.
Innocence, and then the sequel, A Plague Tale, Requiem.
Okay.
And we'll be exploring what makes these games so unique, what
Right.
kind of experience they offer, and whether it might be something that you want to add to your playlist.
Yeah, I think this collection stands out because it really blends historical fiction, survival horror, and it's
Yeah.
got a very heartwarming story.
Yeah, it's pretty captivating.
Yeah.
So let's start with Innocence. So imagine 1348 France,
Okay.
right in the throes of the Black Death.
Right.
That's where we meet Amisha and her younger brother, Hugo.
And they're not only dealing with the plague,
Oh,
but they've also got the Inquisition on their tail.
Oh, wow.
And Hugo himself is dealing with a mysterious illness.
Oh.
So they're trying to find a cure for him, all while avoiding the plague and the Inquisition.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Talk about pressure.
Yeah. So then we have Requiem, which continues their story.
Right.
And this time it's all about trying to save Hugo,
Mm.
and their bond is really pushed to the limit.
Yeah, and it was very successful, Requiem. It actually sold over 1 million copies,
Wow.
which says something, you know?
Yeah, it's a
Sounds-
popular game.
It's a gripping story, for sure.
Yeah, and it's not just about surviving, you know?
Yeah.
It's really about the relationship between these two siblings.
Right.
All their struggles and everything that they're going through.
Their sacrifices.
Yeah, the lengths they go to for each other.
Exactly. So we know the story is intense. But what about the gameplay itself? What can players actually expect, when they actually pick up the controller?
So imagine this blend of action-adventure,
Okay.
stealth,
Right.
and puzzle solving,
Interesting.
all wrapped up in this really atmospheric medieval world.
I like it.
And light and shadow actually play a big role in this. And I'm not just talking about aesthetics. So it's not like your typical just run and gun type of game.
No, not at all.
Okay.
You really have to think strategically, especially with all the swarms of rats.
The rats are a big part of this, right?
They are a huge part.
Okay.
So you have to use your environment to your advantage.
Like how?
So you can use things like fire to clear a path,
Oh?
or you can even use the rats to kind of take out your enemies.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's what I find so interesting about this series is that you're not just fighting head on.
No.
You're having to outsmart your opponents and the environment and
I
everything.
think it's all about tension and strategy.
Yeah?
Like, how are you going to attract the rats over there? Can you slip past unnoticed?
Right. Are you going to use the rats as a weapon or are you going to try to avoid them?
Exactly.
Okay, so it's a lot more than just fighting.
Yeah, much more.
And there's a talent skill tree as well.
Yes,
Okay.
which is great because it lets you really customize your experience.
So if you're someone who really likes stealth, you can
Yeah.
focus on that. Or if you're more into
Yeah,
combat.
exactly.
Okay, that's cool.
There's something for everyone.
So even if you don't typically enjoy stealth-heavy games,
Yeah, you can tailor it to your liking.
well, that's awesome.
And it adds to the replay value.
You can play it again and choose a different way to play.
Right, exactly.
That's cool. And what about the alchemy system?
Well, they've added some new ingredients like pitch, which
Ah.
opens up all these tactical possibilities.
So they've really like refined this collection
Yes,
to
well,
make it even better.
it's definitely an upgrade.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about the world a little bit.
Okay.
The game really doesn't shy away from the whole, grim reality of the Black Death, does it?
Not at all. You've got all these crumbling castles, forests that are overgrown with weeds.
It's a very bleak atmosphere.
Yes, very bleak, a constant sense of dread.
Yeah.
But it's also immersive. You really feel like you're there.
You feel like you're in 14th century France for sure.
And-
And the sound design is a big part of that as well.
It really is, especially the sounds of the rats.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that.
It's very realistic, and it creates this feeling of unease. You can hear them in the walls,
Talk
and
about that.
the wind howling, and the cries of the victims.
It's very atmospheric.
Yes, very much so.
And they've added these little collectible items and stories as well.
Yeah, which is great for world building.
It gives you a little bit more insight into the world.
Yeah, and you get to learn about the lives of the people.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about the story, we've talked about the gameplay, the world building, but what about the technical side of things? Like, why would someone choose to play this collection over, say, the original releases?
Well, for starters, you're getting enhanced graphics and smoother gameplay,
Okay.
especially for the newer consoles like the PlayStation 5.
Oh, nice.
We're talking better frame rates, better lighting, more detail.
It's the whole package, basically.
A whole...
Nice and faster loading times as well.
Yes, much faster.
Always a plus.
You don't want to wait around forever.
No.
You just want to get right into it.
Exactly. And what about the 3D audio and the haptic feedback?
Those are great additions. They
Uh-huh.
really enhance the immersive experience.
I've heard they're pretty incredible.
The 3D audio really makes you feel like you're surrounded.
You can hear everything.
The rats running around you, and you can even use the audio to pinpoint where enemies are.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
It makes the stealth even better.
So you can kind of hear an enemy's footsteps and know where they're coming from.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
And then the haptic feedback adds this whole other level.
So you could feel the rats.
Yeah, you feel everything, the tension on the slingshot, the impact.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy.
That's incredible. And then they also have the Protector Pack DLC and that Steelbook case for all the collectors out there.
Yeah, they've really gone above and beyond with this collection.
It sounds like the definitive way to experience these games.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is a must-have.
And it's a better value than just buying the games individually, right?
Oh, for sure.
It's basically like getting 2 games for the price of 1 plus all these extra features.
You can't go wrong.
And we haven't even talked about the whole exploration of the Black Death and its impact on society.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
We should definitely get into that.
Yeah, we should.
But for now,
Let's take a break.
and we'll come back and delve into that a little bit more.
Sounds good. Okay, so we're back and ready to get into it.
Yeah, let's dive a little bit deeper into like the mechanics of the game
Right.
and how they all come together to create that really tense and strategic gameplay.
Okay, so one of the first things that really stood out to me was how you have to approach combat so differently.
Yeah, how so?
You're not some powerful knight or a soldier.
Right, you're just a girl trying to survive.
Exactly. You're Amisha trying to protect Hugo, and you have to use your wits and the world around you to your advantage.
And you mentioned earlier that light and shadow play a huge role.
Yeah. Right? They're like your biggest weapons, especially with those swarms of rats.
Oh, yeah, the rats.
So, for example, fire becomes like this crucial tool.
Okay,
You can use torches to create safe paths through areas where the rats are.
makes sense.
Or you can use your sling to ignite braziers and kind of lure the rats toward your enemies.
Ooh, that's smart.
Yeah, so it becomes almost like a puzzle.
Yeah, like figuring out how to manipulate the environment and use the rats to your advantage.
Exactly. And it's not always about direct combat either.
Right.
Sometimes the best thing to do is stay hidden in the shadows.
Ray, be sneaky.
Yeah, and you can use your slingshot to distract enemies, create diversions.
So you have to be really aware of your surroundings.
You constantly have to adapt your approach based on the situation.
And what about the crafting system? How does that work?
Crafting is super important for survival.
Okay.
You can collect materials as you go and make different ammunition for your sling, or you can upgrade your equipment.
Okay, cool. So what kind of stuff can you craft?
Well, you can craft things like incendiary stones to light those braziers.
Right.
Or odorous to attract the rats to a certain spot.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah.
So there's like this resource management element too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You can't just go in guns blazing.
You have to think ahead.
You have to conserve your resources. Every decision matters.
It's really adding to the tension.
It does. It keeps you on edge.
Yeah, definitely. And we talked about the talent skill tree too.
Right.
How does that let players kind of tailor their approach?
Well, let's say you're someone who loves stealth.
Okay.
You can invest in talents that make you move more quietly or pickpocket enemies or create distractions.
Nice.
But if you prefer more of a head-on approach,
Well, fighter.
exactly, you can upgrade your slingshot skills, maybe learn to control groups of rats to use against your enemies.
Ooh, that's cool. It's like turn the rats into your own personal army.
Exactly. It's all about finding what works for you.
I like that.
And the game really rewards experimentation.
You can try out different things and see what works.
Yeah.
So it's not just about following a set path.
No, there are multiple ways to approach each encounter.
I bet that adds a lot of replay value.
It does. You can go back and try a totally different style.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
Okay, so we talked about the mechanics and how they make the game so strategic and tense. But let's talk about the story again.
Okay.
We've mentioned the bond between Misha and Hugo.
Mm-hmm.
But how does that relationship actually change as they go through all this?
Their journey is full of challenges, and their bond is tested constantly.
In what ways?
Well, they face unimaginable horrors.
Right, they're dealing with the plague and the Inquisition.
And they have to make really tough decisions that will impact their futures.
That's a lot for anyone to go through, let alone kids.
Yeah, it's a lot, but their love for each other shines through.
It doesn't break them.
No, it doesn't.
Are there any moments that stand out to you in terms of their relationship?
There's one scene in Innocence that I always think about,
Okay.
where Amisha and Hugo get separated. And Amisha has to go through this super dangerous area by herself while searching for Hugo.
Oh, gosh.
It's a really powerful moment that shows how strong she is.
She's determined to find him.
She is. And then in Requiem, things get even more complicated.
How so?
Well, the stakes are higher, and Hugo's powers start to manifest in unpredictable ways.
Ooh, so he's developing these powers.
He is, and it puts a strain on their relationship.
Yeah, I bet.
Amisha's trying to understand what's happening to him, but it's scary.
It's a lot to deal with.
Right.
So it's not just the external threats they're facing.
No.
They've got internal conflicts as well.
Exactly. Their dynamic is changing, and it adds this whole other layer to their story.
It sounds really complex and emotional.
It is.
All right, so let's switch gears a bit and talk about the enhancements in this collection.
Yeah.
We touched on it earlier,
Yeah.
but for our listener, can you go into more detail about what makes this a better experience than the original releases?
Well, one of the biggest improvements is the way it looks.
Okay,
On newer consoles, it runs at 60 frames per second.
so it's really smooth.
It's super smooth and responsive.
Nice.
The textures are way more detailed, and the lighting has been completely redone.
So the world is just more believable and immersive.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You really feel like you're in this grimy medieval world.
Awesome. And the 3D audio, you mentioned that before.
Yeah, that's a game changer.
So how does that impact the experience?
It's like you're surrounded by the sound.
Okay.
You can hear those rats skittering around you from every direction.
Oh, God.
And it makes the stealth section so much more intense.
Yeah, because you can actually hear where people are.
You can use the sound to figure out where enemies are coming from,
That's so cool. And then you have the haptic feedback.
which adds another level of immersion.
Like, what kind of stuff can you feel?
Oh, you can feel the tension when you pull back your sling,
Oh, wow.
the impact of your shots, and even the rats running under your feet.
Oh, that's creepy.
It is, but it's also super cool.
It makes it feel so real.
It is. It really draws you in.
So with all these upgrades, this collection sounds like the best way to play.
I think so. It's a really fantastic package.
Yeah, it offers this really amazing immersive experience.
It does, and we can't forget about the value.
Right, we talked about the Protector Pack DLC and the Steelbook.
Right, but even without that, you're getting 2 great games for the price of 1.
Yeah, that's a great deal.
It is.
And then there's also the fact that this game really explores the Black Death and its impact on society.
Right, we haven't really gotten into that yet.
That's something I want to discuss a little bit more.
Me too.
Because it's not just a game, it's a glimpse into history.
Exactly, and I think there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, so let's take some time to delve into that a little bit more.
Okay, sounds good.
So we're back and ready to really dig into this whole Black Death element of the game.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that makes this collection so unique.
Definitely, like, it's not just a background detail.
No, it's woven into every part of the game.
Yeah, you really feel it in the visuals, the sounds, the story.
Yeah, you see how the plague devastated villages and cities?
Yeah, it's grim.
You hear people crying out. You can
Oh,
almost feel the threat of infection everywhere.
Yeah, you're constantly on edge, like you could catch it at any moment.
Right, exactly.
It's really effective.
Yeah, but it's not just a history lesson, you know?
Yeah.
It uses the Black Death to explore deeper themes about humanity.
Yeah, like what kind of themes?
Well, themes of loss, resilience, hope.
The bonds of family?
Yeah, exactly. It forces the characters to confront their own mortality.
Yeah, like what does it mean to live when everything around you is dying?
Right, and what choices do you make when the world is falling apart?
And it does it in a way that feels really authentic.
Yeah, they did a ton of research to accurately portray the horrors of the Black Death.
It's not sugar-coated at all.
No, but they also found these moments of beauty and humanity.
That's important.
You see people being kind to each other, helping one another.
Yeah, there's still hope, even in the darkest of times.
Exactly, and I think that's what makes it so powerful.
It's not just about surviving the plague.
No, it's about how these characters change and grow because of it.
It makes you think about what you would do in that situation.
Right. Would you be able to handle that kind of loss and suffering?
Would you be able to protect the people you care about?
Yeah, it really challenges you to think about human nature.
And the game also shows the darker side of humanity, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The plague brings out the worst in some people.
Like, how so?
Well, people start to panic. They get suspicious of each other.
They look for someone to blame.
Exactly. They need a scapegoat.
And then there are those who take advantage of the situation.
Right. The ones in power who exploit the chaos for their own gain.
The game doesn't shy away from any of that.
No, it shows it all the good and the bad.
And even with all the darkness, there are these bright spots.
Like the relationship between Amisha and Hugo.
Yeah, they have such a strong bond.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, love and family can keep you going.
So for someone who's thinking about playing these games, what would you say is the most important thing for them to know?
I think it's important to go in knowing that it's a heavy experience.
Okay.
It's emotionally challenging, and it doesn't hold back on showing how brutal the Black Death was.
It's not for the faint of heart.
No,
Yeah.
but it's also a story about hope and resilience.
Yeah, you're just saying that earlier.
And it reminds you of what's really important in life.
Yeah, like the people we care about.
Exactly. It's a game that will stay with you long after you finish playing.
It sounds like it.
It really makes you think and makes you feel things.
It's more than just entertainment.
It's an experience.
So if you're looking for a game that's going to challenge you emotionally
Yeah.
and
Well-
make you think about the world in a different way,
Then the Hay Plague Tale collection is definitely worth checking out.
yeah, I think we can both agree on that.
For sure.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the A Plague Tale collection.
A very deep dive.
Yeah, we've covered a lot. But there's still so much more to explore in these games.
It's a rich world with an amazing story.
And we encourage everyone to experience it for themselves.
Yeah, let's go check it out.
All right, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.